What up, YouTube? This is Amani channel with Seeds of Awakening Reacts. So I'm going to do a little bit differently today. I'm going to actually react to 3 different videos that I found online, give you some thoughts and share my thoughts with you, share my perspective. So the first one is from Brother Jeron Benton. He lives actually in Hawaii, but he's an ex-JW, and he shares in this video why waking up is like hell.
Of course, though, the first thing you want to do is wake up your family, your JW family and friends, right? That's the first thing you want to do. Just like I did, right? Now, on one end, I want to say...
All right, now I will say that when you first come into some more spiritual information, kind of different from what you've been indoctrinated in, you're going to be tempted to tell everybody or tell those who are close to you. But that may be a mistake, and he gets into it as he goes along with this.
That was a mistake. You know, when you do your research, you want to wake everybody up because you don't want nobody to be lost in the sauce. You don't want nobody to die believing in a lie, right? So you want to wake them up. You have good intentions, right? But as we know, that backfires. I learned that the hard way.
All right, so as he says that backfires, why does that backfire? Why do you think that may backfire? Why is that not the best thing to do, to just dump information on your loved one? So I didn't have a spiritual awakening from being a Jehovah's Witness. I had a little bit of a spiritual awakening afterwards. And as I was coming to the new information, I went to share it with my wife. And she actually thought I was crazy for the thoughts that I was having. So that's just a little bit of a hint why it may be also a mistake for XJW.
And I say the hard way, but is it really the hard way? Because if you've done your research, you do something that your Jehovah's Witness family and friends haven't done before, right? They never done a research outside of JW.org, right? So is it really a bad thing that you spoken to them? And even if they shun you, they said, oh, you're an apostate, we don't want to speak to you anymore. That's on them. That's not on you, right? It's not on you because you did your part. You did your research. You was open-minded. You was trying to help them to be open-minded individuals. They choose not to. That's on them, right? And all you learn.
Okay, so I agree with him that it is on them to reveal the information that you've learned, but there may be more subtle ways to do it by asking questions. For instance, I had a conversation with Awakened Truths. They have a YouTube channel, and Jeron, who's actually the husband in the relationship, his girlfriend at the time was a witness, and she was still indoctrinated, and he just used questioning to kind of help her think it through a little bit. So other than doing a memory dump or a data dump on your loved ones, you may just want to ask some subtle questions. That may be a better way, because a man who's convinced, how does the expression go? A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So even though you may have come into this new information through your research, you're open-minded, especially witnesses are not open-minded. They're very closed-minded. So there may be some other ways in which you can share that new information that you've come into with them. All right, so check out this YouTube channel if you want to learn more. I'm going to link to this brother's full video in the description. All right, this next video is from an ex-Bethelite named Vaughn. And she has a kind of humorous, but it's funny, not funny, because he speaks to the fact that some Bethelites need to protect their rumps, and he sort of explains why in this video.
Hello everyone, ex-Wallkill Bethelite here, and we're going to pretend like we're in Bethel Entrance School. That's the school that's supposed to teach you about how to be successful at Bethel. They need to expand the course to include how to protect that ass at Bethel. See, Jehovah's Witnesses in general are sexually deprived. And I'm talking, that's your heterosexual Jehovah's Witness.
I would say most poly-American males are sexually deprived, except for a small percentage. Just because of the way society is, this is a Judeo-Christian society, sex is kind of taboo in the United States, but especially if you're involved in a very controlled religion like Jehovah's Witnesses are. I didn't really date girls until I was like 18, 17. It just wasn't something that you could do openly. And it's definitely taboo. So I can see why he says that Jehovah's Witnesses are sexually deprived, because they are. There's a lot of pent up aggression, we'll say.
They're sexually deprived. It's almost like when you think about prison, and of course Bethel is very similar with prison in a lot of ways. When you're talking about prison, you're talking about sometimes people who've been sexually repressed. They ain't been around a woman in 5 years. They ain't been around a woman in 6 years. Outside of the people that actually work at the prison, they haven't been around women for a long time.
All right, now I have not been to Bethel, and I have definitely never been to prison. So I don't know if it's actually similar or not, but it's an interesting analogy because he's calling Bethel, which is like the headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses, where they do their work. A lot of young people go to Bethel to do their service, to work there and volunteer there. I can't say that it's like prison, though he says it is, and I can see his analogy, but prison seems to be a very serious kind of situation where you're not, you have inmates, you have guards, you have various, it's divided by racial lines a lot of times. So is it like prison? I'm not so sure about that.
So some of them end up getting into all kinds of different things. Well, with Jehovah's Witnesses, you got people who were sexually repressed, let alone the ones that's gay. The ones that's gay were like on sexual lockdown until they get to Bethel and it's just all these young boys everywhere. But you got even heterosexual Jehovah's Witnesses that were sexually repressed, didn't have no girlfriend, didn't have anything. Then they apply to go to Bethel. They get to Bethel. They're around all these other boys and guys at Bethel. And oftentimes, sometimes, at your congregation, you don't have any women there either. You don't have anybody anywhere near your age. So you're around nothing but men. Now, this is not no excuse, because I'm straight and I've never had a gay thought in my life. And I went to Bethel. But there are people with different chemistry in their head. They just built different. So the whole concept of people going to prison and getting turned out and all this stuff, think about Bethel in a similar way. So Bethel Entrance School, one of the courses should be on how to not get turned out at Bethel.
Does there need to be some sort of course at Bethel? I'm not so sure, because, who knows? I can't say for sure. But if someone has another persuasion, like if someone is not heterosexual, hopefully they are not preying on other men the same way it happens in prison. I would hope that doesn't happen. But anyways, to see the rest of Marcus's video, I will link it to the description. Very interesting take on being a Jehovah's Witness at Bethel and how to protect your cheeks and the need to protect your cheeks. And this last video is from a YouTube channel called Religion Investigation. Now, this is kind of interesting because this gentleman actually went on a fact-finding mission. He's not a JW, but he actually went and attended a couple of Kingdom Hall services to learn more about how Jehovah's Witnesses operate, what they believe in, what the service is like. And this is some of his observations.
Well, the meeting itself, it feels dry. It feels dead. I don't see the apostles 2,000 years ago doing this in caves. I don't see followers of the apostles doing this 2,000 years ago in caves. I don't see the 4th century church doing this. Just coming together and sitting and then coaching each other on how to manipulate people and I just don't see it. I don't see that how the apostles did it. But I don't want to get too nerdy with this and go into church history. I don't want to do that. But I just don't see how this religion has any flavor to it, any spirit to it. Doesn't have any bite to it. Doesn't have any. I don't know how to word this. I wish.
Just say it's boring as hell to be at the Kingdom Hall, which it was. I remember when my brother and I used to attend the meetings, we kind of would be a laugh fest for us because we would find humorous things to entertain each other with, and like we'd crack jokes all during the meetings. We'd always be laughing, kind of causing a distraction because the meetings are so boring, and that's what he's alluding to. He felt like the Kingdom Hall was a boring place, like the information was very dry, which it is. Let's finish it up here.
I had better words to use, but you know, like Southern Baptists, they have that, in the name of the Lord. You know, they have that oomph to them. And the Orthodox can have that oomph to them. And the Catholics have that oomph to them. The Lutherans have that oomph to them. The JWs, they don't. Or at least not on the weekday services. I have not seen that. I don't see them having that oomph or anything to them. I just see them as, okay, everyone, this is what the Bible says. We need to do what the Bible says. We need to do what the Bible says. This is what I think it means. Stupid people, stay away from them. It feels so dead and dry that it's almost scary that millions of people follow this religion because it seems so dead and dry.
Exactly. So he got to it right there. He said it feels dead and dry, which I would agree with him. Meetings are very dead and dry. There's not like a lot of excitement during praise and worship. They don't have a choir of any sort. They just have kingdom melodies, which when I went, they were very little boring kind of piano songs that the congregation would sing together. So, yeah, now he actually is going to start a Bible study with Witness. So I'm very curious to see what his next video or his future content on what he learned through his Bible study or what his take was on the religion after he starts his Bible study. But beware, because Jehovah's Witnesses are very crafty in how they present their information. So that would be my warning to you, is to be careful in terms of how you receive that information, because yeah, next thing you know, you might be a JW. Alright, but that is it for the videos today. Like I said, they will all be in the description. I would encourage you to go watch them in their entirety. This is Amani channel, Seeds of Awakening. See you in the next one. Peace.